Okay, I lied. It does still kind of, it still catches me off guard a little bit. So, all right. Okay. Good
Right.
morning, everyone. This is Let's Talk Java. I am your host, Laarni Mulvey, the Power Lady, and I have an awesome guest with me today. She is one of my virtual friends. We were supposed to meet like a month or two ago, but shit happens. So anyway, I have my friend Beth Ann Kaib. She is coming in from Arizona, and I'm so excited to have her here. And so, Beth, usually what I ask my guests, first question out of the gate is, what's in your cup? So what are you drinking today?
Today, I am drinking a lovely Axio. So I don't do coffee or tea, but Axio is kind of like a brain drink. So helps me think a little better.
Well, I have in my cup, I'm not drinking out of my Hello Kitty cup today because it's dirty and I got lazy to wash it.
Yeah.
So I'm just drinking in my normal teal cup. And it's Habit Coffee is one of the coffees that I found out about it just random researching coffees. And oh my God, I love it. So I actually treated myself and ordered some to have. So I have like this much left in my bag and in the coffee bag. And I'm like, okay, don't drink all of it. Don't drink all of it. But anyway.
Is this the guy that you interviewed too?
What's that?
Is that the guy that you interviewed too?
No, that was Tyler Ornstein with Tyler's Acid Free Coffee. His coffee is really good too. And he's from Arizona, which is really
nice.
So, all right. Well, I wanted to say, hey, thank you for giving us a few minutes of your time today. But also, let us know, who are you, Beth? Who are you?
Thank you for having me. I am a semi-recent entrepreneur. I had an issue with trying to start up businesses, and I would start them up successfully, and then I would get bored with them, and then they would kind of go downhill because I lost my interest.
Mm-hmm.
So then a couple friends wanted to start businesses, so I helped them, and I had a tremendous thrill out of it. So then I learned I just needed to become a business launch specialist. So I help other people launch their businesses. So I get to use all of my creativity and put it towards them. And then about the time I'm getting bored is the time that they're taking over, and it works out perfectly.
So I know that there's other things that you do besides like launching businesses and stuff. Like, I know that I creeped on your Facebook page a little bit. I got to research my guests, but
that's what we want to call it.
Yeah. So what's with the horses? What's with the animals?
So I grew up in Western New York, and I grew up with horses and animals of all kinds. Obviously, I like animals.
I saw something moving in the background.
Yes, that's my dog. He's never very far from me. So, but I grew up in Western New York and was raised around a lot of horses. And we came out to Arizona, and horses aren't quite as big out here as they are back in small town New York. So, really.
Okay, that's new to me. Okay.
Yeah. At least not really in the city. I'm like in the suburban area, but yeah, just outside of Phoenix. So I have a special needs daughter, and I did hippotherapy with her when she was little. So hippotherapy is when you do occupational therapy, speech therapy, or physical therapy, but you're doing it on the back of a horse. So yeah, so they actually have their therapy session on a horse where you integrate the equine movement as part of your session. So I am actually also a therapist. I do occupational therapy as well. So I'm stepping away from that now, but I wanted to get my daughter on a horse, and I had a case manager that was into horses, and we just started working together, put my kid on a horse, and then I approached her and I was like, hey, I'm certified in this form of therapy, and this is what I do. Like, I have a couple clients, could you give them riding lessons on the weekend, and I'll donate my time, but it'll look just like a therapy session. That was about 5 years ago. So now we're a nonprofit. We have 5 therapists. We have like over 50 volunteers. We just moved to a 4-acre property. We're using 6 different horses. So yeah, it's a nonprofit that I co-founded. So that's how you normally saw me online, was in my baseball hat, no
Yes.
makeup, looking real great, ready to go to work with horses.
Wow, I did not know that you started your nonprofit. That's really cool. Like that's something I'm aspiring to, with the Women's Strength Initiative, to start a nonprofit like that. But I just think that's really cool. Like, honestly, you're maybe the second therapist that I know that does the equine. Yeah, I keep thinking it's equine therapy.
Equine therapy.
Yeah, so you're like only like the second person I know that does that. And I mean, I'm an athletic trainer, so we don't get like chances to do that kind of like certification or therapy. And I think that is really cool to have that as something that helps in your nonprofit. Like, you use that as kind of like a foundation to build your nonprofit. And I think that's really cool. So how is that going? Like, now that you are doing Nomadic Cowgirl, like launching, is that part of your business launching services, the Nomadic Cowgirl?
What do you mean?
What is Nomadic Cowgirl? Like, what is it?
So Nomadic Cowgirl, so I decided.
That's why I'm like, what is it?
I'll give you the Cliff Note version here. So I walked out of a marriage, and my daughter went through a bunch of different brain surgeries. And as soon as we had doctor clearance, we decided to take off across the country. So my daughter and I went off across the country in an RV, across the country and back. And it was the scariest and best thing I've ever done. We found like this hidden strength within us both, and we were able to reform a bond. And it was just an amazing, amazing experience. But during that time, I launched Nomadic Cowgirl. So back in 2019. And that was, not too long ago.
See, all these new things that are coming up, I'm just like, oh my gosh, there are so many things that you are doing. And there are just so many things that are like behind the scenes, and I'm learning it all. And I'm just like, my jaw's like, oh my God, there's just so many things.
Yes. Yeah. So I taught myself how to build websites. I did a lot of like virtual assistant type stuff in the beginning, and I decided I can do it, but that's not what my primary focus is anymore. So I build websites. I do a lot of social media management, and I'll do website management, and then just helping people launch their businesses. So whether it's coming up with a business name, I've helped people come up with their business name, get their EIN, their LLC, their domain, their website, their startup forms, like everything they need to open shop, essentially, for small business or single entrepreneurs.
Where were you when I was launching my business? Like, I remember starting off in March 2020 when the whole COVID started, and then like losing my job. And I was like, I'm going to start a business. I've always wanted to start my business. And then started like rolling into like researching and figuring out what I want to do. And I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then, and then I met Crystal, and she's like, did you do this? Did you do this? And it's like, what's that? I don't know what that is. What do I do? And I was like, where were you when I was like, oh my God, where is step one? Where is step before step one? Like, where is that?
Yeah. It's
so
hard.
What made you launch two questions. Yeah. What made you launch your nonprofit? Like what was the thought of that? And then secondly, what made you want to do this business launching thing for people?
So for the nonprofit, that all started with my daughter. And I've always taken, as a therapist, I've taken complex kiddos. So lots of like high risk medical. So a lot of the kids that I used to treat had a condition called mitochondrial disease. Mm-hmm. So it's like a multi-system shutdown. So a lot of them have backpacks where their pumps are housed, and then they have like tubes and wires coming out of them. And a lot of people are terrified to work with kids like that. And I had a kid on it with a trach as well. And so these are kids that, it takes extra manpower. It takes an extra big heart and an extra, like lots of extra just motivation and preparation to serve that population. And they weren't getting served on horses. And I didn't think that was fair. And neither did the co-founder. So we decided that we were primarily going to start putting these kids on horses. And we served a population that nobody else was really serving out here. So that's how that all started. We had no idea what we were in for. I mean, you know, we just thought it was.
Does anybody know?
No. Like this is a great idea, and yeah, now it's huge. So,
does anybody know, as entrepreneurs, like, do you really know? You're just like, it's almost like you just prepare for what you can prepare, and then whatever comes your way, you deal with it then.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah. And then when I was on the road, I was building the nonprofit a lot. I was doing a lot of like the catch up. We just went, and we didn't have like necessarily all the procedures and policies and everything in place we should have. So I did a lot of that while I was on the road, but I still needed to make an income as well. So that's when I decided to start up Nomadic Cowgirl, and that through everything I did for the nonprofit is called Barnyard Equine. For everything I did with Barnyard Equine, and then there was a sister company that was starting up with Barnyard Equine and a couple other friends. I decided that's what I wanted to do. And I was on my like self journey discovery. I was rebuilding myself, started going back to college, and just was out to fix me, like repair and rebuild myself. And this was all part of it, and finding that confidence and the determination, and showing my daughter, like, when you fall down, you get back up and you don't stop. And I mean, her health conditions, she's shown me that more than anyone else. So I don't feel like I need to show her that, but no, I've been very determined to show her, whatever you go through, you get back up. And so, yeah. And then we actually, in the travel trailer, we had a mirror on the bathroom door, one of those like full length mirrors. And I was like, Hope, my daughter's Hope, like, Hope, I need words to describe me. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, starting a business. I need words to describe me. So we had a mirror, and we just listed down all of these words to describe me and what I'm good at, what defines me. And Nomadic Cowgirl came about. So, because I'm a traveling nomad and I'm a cowgirl. So
that is that is a really cool exercise that anybody can do. I mean, I know you were doing it as like just something to like get your mind rolling and be creative, but imagine that kind of exercise that you're using for somebody who's on like a block, like a mind block, which I have gone through many times. And I almost do the same thing. I don't write it. I need to write things down more often. But like in my mind, I put it in like the file cabinet of my brain. And just like, it may come 2 weeks later, it may come 2 months later or something like that. But then when it comes together, it's like, that's it.
Yep.
I wish I would have written it down so I could see it sooner,
I do that with so many of my clients. I'm like, just start writing down words. Like, what describes you? What describes what you're doing? And just start putting them all together. And yeah, instead of nomadic,
That's really cool. I love that exercise. I think I'm going to steal that from you and like you. I want to use that because I mean, not just for anybody that is struggling, but for like myself, like, you have some of those days that you're talking like really badly about yourself. And sometimes, it gets to you, it really.
Exhibit A, my gratitude board over here. So these are all Post-it notes of what I'm grateful for every day. So when I'm like, oh, I didn't get anything done today, I can go look at my board and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm okay.
So how has helping others helped rebuild you?
Oh, there's nothing better. There's nothing better than helping others. I work with a lot of kids, and just to see the smiles on their faces when they do something new, like a kid learns how to tie their shoes and they finally do it for the first time all by themselves while they're on the back of the horse and the horse is moving. I mean, you try to do that as an adult. Let's see how you make out. It's just great. And then to watch, as far as Nomadic Cowgirl, to watch these people, I know we're having a toot toot later, but I'm going to do my toot toot now. I have a very good ability to help people find and more like define their unicorn dreams. So those big audacious goals that like you don't think you can ever achieve. I help people find those and start taking the steps towards those. And I pull it out of them. And sometimes they haven't even seen it within themselves. So to see the light bulb go on in these people and they're like, wow. And then they start believing, maybe I can do this. Like, this is the path. And these are the things I need to do every day. And I can get there. And just to see them go from like stagnant on one of those like little escalator things at the airport where they're like going straight across, to actually believing in themselves and taking those steps to achieve big things. There's nothing better.
Wow. That I 100% agree, because I like, for me, it's a different view just because, I use my like physical strength to give people like, hey, you know what, if Laarni can do it, I can too, in a way. But as much as I love like powerlifting, I use it to build my mind as well.
Yes.
And it's really taken off it's paralleled into my life and paralleled into being able to talk with you and other people. And that whole idea of sharing your inner strength, you know what I'm saying? It just kind of comes together and we support each other. And I think that is really cool. I really admire that about you. So I'm so glad that you're able to tell that story, because there's a lot of people out there who are going to be listening to this and they're like, what's Nomadic Cowgirl? And then all of a sudden you're going to like tell us about it. And it's going to be like, again, that light bulb moment may not be for everybody, but that one person where it clicks that light bulb moment, you're like, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what keeps you going.
So now, as a new entrepreneur, okay, we all have our ups and downs.
Oh yeah.
We all have them. And blanket advice is always just like, it's exactly what it is, blanket advice. Mm-hmm. And some people will take it and be like, it won't work for me. But what have you learned in your journey, in your entrepreneurship journey, that you can be like, you know what I did, and I did that, and like, and this includes failures too. Like sometimes I think my failures are funny. So
definitely. I think mindset is everything. And yeah, I took off cross country, ended up coming back because the nonprofit was moving to a bigger space. And while we were here, my brother ended up passing away. And so we hung out, my daughter and I hung out for a while. Thankfully, the nonprofit was in a larger space. So we just parked on their property for a little while. And we ended up hanging out for a little while, and then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, I had my eggs in like 4 different baskets. I obviously, as you can tell, I like to do a lot of things at one time. But 3 of my baskets went dry, and that was tough. And people didn't know how long this whole COVID thing was going to last. So nobody was really starting up businesses. So I ended up going back into therapy, because medical field during COVID, that
still kept going.
Yep.
Still kept going.
And we were very fortunate because we were providing an essential service outside. So we were able to keep going, and we felt confident in it. We had a board, like a doctor on our board. So we had the all clear to keep going. So we were able to impact people still. So I ended up going back and building a caseload as a therapist. And then my Nomadic Cowgirl kind of went by the wayside. So that was I had to make an income.
Yeah.
I had to support my family during tough times. So Nomadic Cowgirl kind of took a back seat. So jumping back into that. While we were here, my daughter found a college she wants to go to. She just started 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I think 2 weeks ago.
Awesome.
And I was looking for jobs. I got to find something with flexibility. She's physically disabled, so I have to drive her. Could not find a job. I've applied for like 3 months. And then I kept getting signs of unicorns. Like everywhere I went was unicorns. I'm like, what is this? I go into PetSmart and there's a unicorn cat house. I go to hug my client on the last day of treating her and she's wearing a unicorn dress. And then like in traffic, this car drives by and I kid you not, on the back window is like this giant unicorn decal. I'm like, really? So it took me like a good 4 weeks of seeing unicorns every day to realize I needed to jump like both feet into my business again, back into Nomadic Cowgirl. So yeah, here I am a month in. I've got a couple new clients and I've just taken that giant leap of faith again. I'm like, if I can go across the country as a single mom with a disabled child, I can do this. So I dove back in 2 feet and starting over, and it will be successful. It will not be a failure because I'm determined.
I love that like you use unicorns as like one of your signs, I guess, or your nudges or pushes, because I went through the same thing too when I was like, but mine through the whole COVID, I had lost my job in March and then I had a job lined up in April. They called me 2 days before I was going to start on Monday. Well, you know what, Laarni, that job, that contract that you were going to be assigned to, well, we don't know what's going on with the COVID, so they pulled the contract, so, sorry. I'm like, oh, shoot. And then I had a job lined up in June, and they called me the Friday before I was to start the Monday to tell me the same thing. And I was like, I was pissed, but I got to the point where I was so pissed and I was not going to fall into the trap of like dwelling so much. I mean, I did dwell for a little bit, like, oh, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get a job? But I ended up going to the hair salon. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go get my hair done because it makes me feel better. And yes. I was talking to my hairdresser and telling her how I felt that women are stronger than they think they are. And I was telling her about a study that I read about women will, if there's a job available, and women will look at the job and be like, I'm not qualified enough. I'm not this. But the man will be like, yeah, sure, I'll apply for it. Whatever. What's the worst that can happen? No. But we'll talk ourselves out of it. And I'm just like, we are so much stronger than we think we are. We should apply for that job. Even if we don't think we're qualified for it, we should apply for it. And I guess I was talking loud, my volume, the Laarni volume. And there was somebody in there who said, I had no idea who she was. And she came up to me and she said, thank you for saying that. I needed to hear that kind of message. And then she's like, I should pay you to say those kinds of things to me every morning. And I said, girl, salon sessions are free. And then that's when my, that unicorn clicked in my head. I'm just like, you know what, Laarni, you are made to empower other women. You are made to build the strength in other women and bring it out of them, like how you do that with your clients, building their business. I do the same thing in a different manner, but it's just like we both are trying to build the community of strong women.
Yeah, raise each other up. Yeah.
Yes. And I just think it's really amazing how there are these nudges. Yours is unicorns. Mine is like some rant, like me not getting a job. And now we're both here, both feet
diving in
the deep end,
yep.
In the deep end. And I really don't like to swim because I'm not a very good swimmer in general, but it is.
I need my floaties on my arms.
I have the one around my stomach.
There we go. We're not going under. Not going under.
We're not going under. And that, I think, builds that foundation for us to help other people, to build other people's dreams and visions, because we have our vision and we're so like determined to build it. We want other people to build theirs too.
And it sounds like we've both learned that we have to believe in ourselves and build our own foundation before we can build others up.
Yes, exactly. And I just think that, our connection, even though we have not met yet, I see,
We will.
you see how I said yet there?
Yes.
Even though we haven't met yet in person, I think that connection that we have built continues on.
Yeah, definitely.
And we once you, and here I'm like throwing your vision, like a little idea in your vision, like once you write your book and once you start doing your podcast and stuff, I know we're going to connect that way too. And I think that's amazing. I love that. So, all right, here's our toot section. I know you did a little tooting earlier, but yes. What's coming up for Nomadic Cowgirl? What's going on with your nonprofit? Like, let us know.
That is a wonderful question. I have no idea.
Yes, you do. It's just kind of like in like a few bits and pieces, but like it's
right. I have heard book. I've heard the word book so many times. So though I have not started on a book, that's been in my mind. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. I would like to do some kind of online training portal kind of thing for those people that can't necessarily afford the one-on-one services, but can still access everything and get the help and do it on their time. Because let's face it, most people trying to launch their own businesses are still like running a family and a full-time job. So can you meet Monday through Friday 8 to 5? Probably not. So here's another alternative for you to go and learn what you need to learn to be successful for you. So I'd like to see myself doing something like that as well.
Have you thought about speaking on a summit?
Ooh, I wouldn't be opposed. I deal with that imposter syndrome still some too. I'm like, well, but who am I? And I just have to remind myself, I've had a lot of
You are Beth Ann. You are Beth Ann. That's right? Who you are.
Exactly. And I learned from failures, and if I can prevent other people from failing and being successful, I want to do that. So that's who I am.
Well, how do people get a hold of you if they have other questions and want to know more about therapy services that you provide, your nonprofit? What is the best way to get a hold of you?
So my for-profit for my business launch specialist in websites and social media management is Nomadic Cowgirl. So nomadiccowgirl.com. And excuse the mess on my website right now. My platform is up for renewal next month, and I'm like, do I want to change? Do I not? I'm like, I kind of do. Yeah.
Same.
So I'm in that like shit or get off the pot moment, and I just haven't decided which way I'm going yet. So yeah. And then the nonprofit is Barnyard Equine. So you can go to barnyardequine.com, and it shows a list of all of our services, and you can do like intakes and stuff through there. So.
How about on your socials? Do you want people to try to get a hold of you on your socials? Do you have a Facebook group for people to look?
I don't have a Facebook group. I do have a Facebook page, so Nomadic Cowgirl, and Instagram as well. I spend a lot more time on Instagram than I do Facebook nowadays.
Me too.
Yeah.
I've been doing that too.
Yeah. I love all the pictures. I like to read. I like the pictures. I do enough reading at work.
Oh my gosh. Well, you guys, this has been an amazing episode with Beth Ann Kaib talking about all the services and the growth that she has found within herself. Now she is sharing with helping people build their businesses. It's, oh my gosh, there's so many nuggets on this show. On this episode, like I was trying not to be rude and take too many notes, but I know I'm going to be, like once I'm like editing and listening to everything that we talked about, there's gonna be so many little nuggets that I'm going to be like, ooh, that's a good one. Ooh, that's a good one. But you guys, if you are looking for Beth Ann services and trying to get some help to build your business, go onto the description on the YouTube channel, go down the description, scroll, and then you will see all her contact information and her website, so you guys can get in contact with her, because she's providing a great service, not only in her nonprofit, but also in her Nomadic Cowgirl business. So please, we're here to support small business. We're here to support people, new entrepreneurs, older, whatever. We want to make sure we're older, like seasoned. I should say seasoned.
Okay.
Yeah, like seasoned, not older, like age-wise. I'm talking about.
I mean, I know I got gray hair going on up here, but come on now, Laarni.
Seasoned.
There we go.
So you guys, connect with Beth Ann Kaib, ask her a whole bunch of questions, bug her, make sure you guys check out her services because I think that's amazing. And if you want to hear her story, come back to the YouTube channel and rewind and replay and everything that you guys get some of the golden nuggets that, I use Crystal's term, the nuggets that she dropped on this episode. So you guys, this is the episode of Let's Talk Java for today. Beth Ann, thank you so much for giving us your time to talk about your story and share, because it's very inspirational and very encouraging to, especially go cross country and back. Holy cow. That's that. I was just like, dang, I'm gonna do that too. So, so this is the episode of Let's Talk Java. I am your host, the Power Lady, Laarni Mulvey, and I will catch you guys all soon. Have a wonderful day. And Beth Ann, thank you so much for being on my show. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have a wonderful day.
You too.